I'm Thomas Smith, and this is a look at comparing the egg from a free-ranging backyard chicken to a commercially purchased egg. So you can see here I've got an egg from my backyard hens. This is from Elsa, one of my older hens, and she laid this after a day of free ranging. So I actually verified that this was indeed the egg that she laid after a full day out, eating plants and bugs and scratching around in the yard and all of that, and actually a couple of days. So this should definitely be influenced by all that great stuff that she's eating. These are just standard commercial eggs. They are cage-free eggs from Eggland's Best, but they're not free-range eggs. And, not throwing shade at Eggland's Best. These are perfectly good, but these are commercial eggs, and this is from my own chicken. So first things first, looking at them together, they're roughly the same size. This one's a little bit more oblong, and I think it's a cooler color. It's that olive green kind of color versus the standard white or brown eggs. This feels heftier and feels like it definitely has a thicker shell on the egg from my backyard hen. So let's go ahead and crack them open. So here's the commercial egg. See, it kind of shatters the shell a little bit as we break that open. We'll go ahead and dump that one into this bowl. Okay, and then here is Elsa's egg. So you can see it does shatter a little bit like that as well, but I think it's a little bit cleaner of a break. Let's go ahead and dump this one in here. So looking at the shell, I think we have a little bit of a thicker shell here versus the commercial egg. You can see a thinner shell, which makes sense because, she's out there eating all kinds of things in the yard and eating, I do oyster shell calcium supplements. So I think we're getting a thicker egg here. So this is Elsa's egg. Let's take a look at the yolk color firstly. It's a very rich yellow color. Versus on here, still good. It's still a good quality egg, but I don't think it's as rich and deep as the color of the yolk on Elsa's egg. Again, because she's eating all those plants and things out in the yard versus this hen was probably fed commercial feed. So a subtle difference, but take a look at the color there versus the darker, richer color here. The other thing is I think that the white is a little bit thicker, and you can see a little more color difference between the inner white just around the yolk here. You can see it's almost like it's translucent, and then it becomes a little bit cloudier, and there's almost 3 different layers, the yolk and then those 2 different whites. Versus on a commercial egg, you can see that a little bit, but certainly less so. And that's usually an indication, obviously this is still a fresh egg, but an indication that this one literally came out from under the chicken like 2 days ago. And a commercial egg is probably, a little bit on the older side versus that. So those are some subtle differences, but definitely you can tell the difference in color, or at least I can tell the difference in color between these two. And also the thickness of that yolk and that sort of 3 different divisions within the egg with the fresh egg from Elsa. Okay, so now let's fry them up. I'm going to fry each egg in butter, and we'll take a look at them side by side. So as this is frying, I think we're getting a great look at that yolk totally exposed and that sort of deep, rich color there. Also, the different thicknesses of the white means they seem to be cooking at a slightly different rate there. So there's our store-bought egg cooking along here. Okay, and here's our side by side. We've got the backyard chicken egg from Elsa. We've got the store-bought egg. The yolk shattered on this. I don't know if that's because the yolk is different or just the skill of the cook in this case. But in any event, we've got our 2 different eggs side by side here. Let's crack each of these open and dig in. You can see really gooey, super rich yellow color here. Still gooey, still delicious, but I think it's just not quite as deep of a yellow on the store-bought egg. And now I'm going to dig in and try a little bit of these. Okay, so, I think my overall conclusion, they're both tasty. They're both eggs, fried egg and butter. I can't really complain. But I think the backyard egg just tastes kind of more like there's a lot of subtle different flavors in it. The store-bought one kind of just tastes very strongly eggy. And this has more creaminess. It's almost like the difference between grass-fed beef and corn-fed or grain-fed beef. I think this has more of those sort of gamey flavors. It has a wider sort of profile of different flavors, and it just tastes a little bit kind of creamier for the yolk there. The store-bought egg, really just very strongly eggy, and still tasty, still that sort of fatty, delicious flavor you get with egg yolk, but this tastes like there's maybe more subtlety to it and a wider variety of flavors in addition to that darker yolk that probably indicates that there's more different kind of compounds in there, and particularly more of those wild plants that are being eaten by the hens here. So I love my backyard chicken eggs. I think one of the biggest things is just the freshness and the pride of being able to grow your own food at home. But it's nice to see them compared side to side, do a taste test, kind of tell the difference in a blind tasting. That would be a fun thing to test out. Yeah, I really love the flavor of these, and moreover, just the pride of having your own hens and being able to provide a certain amount of your own food right there at your own house.